Hey, Matt.
Hey, Jen.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to What Are You Listening to This Week, the weekly podcast where we talk about our favorite songs. Some old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined once again by Matt Sidhom, co-host and co-founder of the Super Awesome Mix podcast. This week's episode features some great songs, old and new. And now, on Spotify, you can listen to the show with the songs we discuss incorporated. Just search for What Are You Listening To with Music. If you're not listening on Spotify, be sure to give the playlist a listen and then tune into our conversation. With that, let's get started. Matt, what are you listening to this week?
All right, my first pick, it's called The Remains, and parentheses, Stripped. Okay, that refers to the version of the song. And it's by a young artist named Kayla Thompson. And so it's really interesting. We've been at this for over a year now, Super Awesome Mix, and we've been doing the podcast and the shows. And just organically out of that, we started getting people reaching out to us, whether it's smaller record labels or publicists or whomever, just saying, hey, you might want to check out this artist. You might want to check out that artist. And, as one might imagine with any time you're getting sort of a cold email like that, it's kind of hit or miss. And so this was an artist that, we got kind of sent to us. Hey, you should check this out. And this is a new version of a single she had previously released. And I think it's great. Like I really like her voice. Even the original version, it's a little bit different sounding, but obviously the same song, and it sounds really good. And also, if you kind of search her catalog, she's got a handful of like standards in there as well. Like, the old song, When I Fall in Love, if you're familiar with that song. But so it's really kind of neat. And we're working right now to get Kayla on the show soon. So I thought, so I've just been listening to, all of her work. And I think she sounds great. Her voice kind of reminds me a little bit of Taylor Swift. Certainly maybe not as powerful as Taylor Swift's at this point, but she's pretty young. So I just think there's some potential there. She really, I think she sounds great. She's worth checking out.
I agree. I really like her voice as well. And it's funny, who I compared her to. I'm like, you know what? I wonder if this is what Alison Krauss sounded like when she started out. Like she has I think her voice is really clear. And another note I wrote about Kayla's voice specifically in this song is that it's mournful. Like she's really able to sort of convey that in a way that feels really authentic to me. And like you, I had heard the original version of the song and then listened to the stripped, I believe it's referring to like the stripped down version, like you said. And I love that too, because it's not an acoustic version. It's not, just her and a guitar. It still is produced. It still has layers. But it's a really beautiful version of the song. And it made me think more of like all the other songs I would love to hear, like a stripped down version of, like, again, not necessarily acoustic, but just like more music focused and singer songwriter focused and less production focused. So I really loved that about this song as well. I thought the production was just beautiful. And I really am anxious for her full album. Like you mentioned, she's got about, I think, 7 singles and then like a 4-song EP. And so I'm really excited to hear what she's got, when she's able to get a full album together and put that out, because I think she is really talented. And it sounds, I listened to, I think it was the first song maybe the first original song that she released, which is called Hold On to My Hand. And I think it was from 2017. And on that one, I did write that it sounded a little bit like early Taylor Swift country. Remember when she was kind of a country artist?
Yeah.
That's kind of what that early Kayla Thompson song reminded me of. But definitely the Remains and the stripped down version of it, I love. I think that it's such a good song. I agree with you. I'm hopeful that you guys get her on the show. If you do, I'm definitely tuning into that episode.
Yeah, and I like how you described her voice. That sometimes when people sing in maybe a higher register, it's a little bit harder to understand. But yeah, it's a great comparison with Alison Krauss, because that's a higher register that's really clear. So I'm gonna probably steal that description down the line, just so you know.
That's all right. It's all right. It's not proprietary. Well, tell me what else you're listening to this week.
All right, so I took a little inspiration actually from the recent episode you did with us with your Desert Island mix, and
Yes.
you had Old 55, the Eagles song, on there, which is kind of a country sounding song by obviously a rock group like the Eagles. And so I'm listening to Hitchhiking and the film version, I should distinguish that, by Bruce Springsteen, of course, and anyone who listens to the main show knows I'm a big fan. But this is off of his album called Western Stars, which he came out with, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. And he had decided they're not going to tour with just that album. And so he made this like maybe 75-minute kind of concert film. And they recorded every song in this barn in New Jersey that he owns. And they had like a full orchestra. So that's why I say listen to the film version, because I like this album when I listened to the studio version. But then when I saw the concert film and heard it with like the bigger orchestral sound, I just really loved it. And so after hearing Old 55 and kind of that country sound coming from a rocker, it reminded me of this album, and I've just kind of been playing this a whole lot. So this is track one, but you can listen to this all the way through. In the film, he kind of has a little bit of, these interstitials where he's kind of talking about the songs and about life and things like that. So I think that's worth a watch if you want to watch that. But I just think the music here is just so great.
I completely agree. I've talked to you about this before. I'm kind of like a recreational Bruce listener. I don't go too deep catalog, but I love, the songs of Bruce that I love, the Bruce Springsteen songs I really love them. Like I love Secret Garden. I've brought that one up 1,000 times. I love it. I love Glory Days. I love Dancing in the Dark, Born to Run, I'm on Fire. Some of the classics I really like, but I don't go deep catalog often with Bruce Springsteen, and I loved this song. And it's funny that you pulled out, that the inspiration was sort of me pulling Old 55 out from the Eagles, because that's the first thing that I wrote about this is like, this is like Bruce Springsteen's version of country.
Yeah.
I love this. And then, like you said, the orchestration is just beautiful, especially the strings. There's this really like lovely string melody that plays in the background. And so I really, I was super excited about this song. It was not one that I was familiar with. And I listened to the album version and then the film version and could not agree more. I definitely like the film version. I think that was the right version of the song to pick. But I also love the way the song opens. It sort of like sets the tone for the rest of the song for me. It says, thumbs stuck out as I go. Hey, I'm just traveling up the road. Well, maps don't do much for me, friend. I follow the weather and the wind. I was like, yeah, it doesn't get any more country lyrics than that, I feel like, right? I mean, he's hitchhiking.
Yeah, it's an old song about hitchhiking.
Traveling.
Right.
Yeah.
Like young people may not know what hitchhiking even is now, right?
Well, thank goodness. It's probably one of the more dangerous endeavors that mankind has embarked on.
But it used to be just kind of a semi-normal thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you just hear stories about, picking up a hitchhiker, and then of course somebody had to ruin it for everybody, right? And things went bad with a hitchhiker once or 100 times, and now there's not much hitchhiking anymore.
Yeah, well, and again, I think that, like, yay, progress.
Okay, yeah. But at least we've still got songs about hitchhiking, right?
Exactly. There's always room for a hitchhiking song, a road song. Like, I'm all about it. I love it. But I am glad that you introduced me to this, because in getting into this song, like you said, the first track, it made me want to listen to the rest of the album, which is also really great, really worth listening to. And it kind of a different Bruce, I felt like. I mean, you're the aficionado, so I hate to go out and make such a bold statement, but this really felt like a different version of Bruce Springsteen than at least I was familiar with.
Yeah, no, very different. And I get why he didn't necessarily tour with this one. He made an album like in the 90s called Devils and Dust, which was a very like acoustic heavy album that was kind of unlike some of his other albums. And I think he did a short tour with that. But again, it was a very different sort of, it wasn't the 3-hour Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, high energy concert that they normally do. So yeah, no, this was quite the departure. People, you listen the whole album through, he's kind of crooning at different times, right? Like he's doing different things with his voice, which, I always think it's kind of neat when artists like him, who are so well established, are just willing to kind of, all right, let me just do something completely different. Right?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
It's a bold move, and especially for someone like Bruce Springsteen, that is so established, in what he does, and is kind of the best at it. When I think about like Americana rockers, that's who comes to mind first, is Bruce Springsteen. And I always joke, when my husband was born in Ireland, and so we go back to Ireland sometimes, and that's who people always ask about when they find out you're American in Ireland.
Really?
Like, everybody wants to know about Bruce Springsteen. Yeah. Oh, do you like Bruce Springsteen? And we're always like, well, yeah. But Bruce Springsteen is who we get asked about most.
Well, good to know. If I ever go over there, I'll fit right in. I'll just make friends with the locals hero. Immediately.
Yeah, you will.
All right. Well, Jen, what are you listening to this week?
Well, I had kind of an up and down week, like I often do. So the first song that I picked was a song called Next to You by John Vincent III. John Vincent III is an artist that I kind of stumbled across. You know how once you've finished listening to a playlist on Spotify, sometimes it'll just automatically switch to like the radio channel for that playlist.
Yeah.
I was listening to a playlist, and a John Vincent III song came on, and I was like, oh, who's this guy? Like, this is interesting. And then Next to You played, and I was like, oh, wow, I really like this song. And here I go again, making more comparisons. But to me, this song is like if the Lumineers and Mazzy Star had a baby, it would be this song. And so that's what I liked about it. I thought that it was seemed really moody to me for a male lead singer. He's young. I think he's about 26 years old. And so his maturity and the depth of the lyrics really spoke to me too. And then there's a line that says, "Wait for me by the water on the first rain of June, and I'll be there with all the letters I ever wrote for you." And I was like, oh, that's sweet. That makes me happy. So yeah, I like this. Were you familiar with John Vincent III, or was this song new for you?
This was new for me, and yeah, I'm with you. I was like, first thing that just kind of stands out, obviously, yeah, like you said, his voice. He reminded me, and I feel like you'll appreciate this. For some reason, I kept going back in my head. His voice reminded me of Michael Hutchence from NXS.
Oh, yeah.
I got a little bit of that in there, and I was like, yeah, and maybe that kind of moody that you described, I was like, yeah, I guess that's okay. Maybe I was kind of onto something there. But yeah, just a beautiful love song. I was like, wow, this is really good. So it started off, and I was like, I wonder I wonder if this was going to take a turn at some point, because nowadays, like, yeah, you listen to a newer love song and like something goes, sideways at some point. But no, it was just a really nice song about just this, him kind of professing his love and wanting to be next to whom he loves. Yeah. So I thought it was great. A really nice
Yeah,
find.
I did too.
Yeah.
And like and a new person to kind of dig and go deep on. I like that too when I find somebody and I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting." And it gives me a little bit of like a rabbit hole to go down. So I'm excited to dig a little bit deeper on John Vincent III. But I do like this song. However, I couldn't let us just be like moody and sad the whole time. So, I had to come in and like finish it off with a banger with, a super like quintessential sounding summer song to me. I'm like always on a quest for like the ultimate summer song. And so for my second song this week on repeat, I've had a song called Past Life by Arkells and Cold War Kids. So I love, love, love Cold War Kids. I don't know that they've come up on the show yet before, but the longer I'm on air, I'm sure the more you'll hear about them because I really do love them. And they're a band where it really does boil down for me. I mean, I love their musicality. I like that they can have a really emotionally raw song and then they can have kind of a dancey song. But I love Nathan Willett's voice, the lead singer of Cold War Kids. There's something really unique and tonal in his voice that I just really respond to. And Arkells is a Canadian band, and the lead singer of that band, his voice I thought blended really well with Nathan Willett's. And so the song is a duet, but the male voices that duet in it sound kind of similar, like more similar than I think you usually get when you have two people duetting. Usually the point of that is that the voices are really different. And I like that there's not a real big, it's not a huge stark difference. You kind of have to really listen to say like, oh, okay, is this Arkells right now? Or is this Cold War Kids? Like who's singing? But I just think this is like a feel good summer song. It has opening sounds. It sort of reminded me of like a video game. And so I liked this one a lot.
Yeah, I thought this was my first note was like, what a fun song. Just both times you play it, you're right, just puts you in a good mood. I did not even realize it was a duet. And maybe that's like to your point about these two voices sound so similar. I don't think it even hit me that there were two separate voices there. So yeah, that's interesting. But no, it's a really great song, really kind of a fun message, like about, kind of trying not to live in this past life and trying to kind of live in this life, right? Being a little bit more present, which is also a really good message for everyone, all year round, not just in the summer, to be a little bit more present. Right. But yeah, one lyric I kind of got a chuckle out of is early on. He says, "I'm a little wallflower singing one headlight," which I thought was a great shout out to, of course, the Wallflowers. But, using it, I love the double meaning there, calling himself a wallflower, but then also calling out the band.
Yeah, definitely. And I was like, oh, that harkens back to our Echoes in the Canyon episode.
That's right.
And then later on, too, they reference Bob Dylan's Kid. Like they talk about the Wallflowers, they say one headlight, and then they say something about Bob Dylan. I'm like, they've got something for Jacob Dylan here. Like, what's this about?
No, after that, I kind of I pulled up the lyrics and just kind of read through all of them because I was like, is this song just about Jacob Dylan? And I'm like, it's not, but they do make a couple of references there.
They do. Yeah, but then they have, there's a great line in it, too, to your point earlier, where it says, can we take back all these lies that added up to wasted years and wasted time? Let's make it right here in this life. And that was like you were saying, to me, this is about the lies we tell ourselves about who we're supposed to be or our limitations, and often those are just stories that we've made up because it's scary to be authentic, it's scary to be vulnerable enough to be seen, and truly seen as yourself. And so after I did the same thing, after I heard both Jacob Dylan and Bob Dylan reference, Bob Dylan's son references, I was like, yeah, is this homage to Jacob Dylan? What are we doing here? And then when I pulled up the lyrics, I'm like, oh, these are actually really great. And I did. I liked the message that I left with in terms of let's not tell ourselves stories that are completely not based in reality. They're just the old stories we have in our head. Yes, let's live in the now and not keep running from the past.
Yeah, no, that was the cool part too, is I was like, this is such a fun song, but then when you really listen to it, it's also got like just a really great message, and it's a really well written song. So that's always kind of nice to have too, because sometimes the fun songs are maybe just gibberish, right? Or just kind of almost throwaway
Right.
lyrics, and so it's cool to get a little bit of both here.
Agreed. Yeah. And like I said, we've got you. We sort of settle you down for the first 3 tracks and then like send you home with a big time summer hit with a message. So that's what we've got for you this week, listeners.
Perfect.
Well, Matt, as always, thanks so much for sharing what you're listening to this week. And to our listeners, remember to check out the Super Awesome Mix podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow Super Awesome Mix on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. And be sure to join me again next week to find your new favorite song.